This fascinating lady has lived a life worth writing about. I sat down with singer-songwriter Jessi Colter, wife of Waylon Jennings. Her wisdom is rare, and her charm made her the darling of the outlaw movement. If you are looking to go into music or are in love with an outlaw, listen up. This one is for you.
I'm not Lisa. My name is Julie. Lisa left you years ago.
You had an interesting upbringing. You were raised by a Pentecostal preacher. That was your mother, Sister Helen. And I just want to talk about, that's interesting to me because, going through the outlaw movement and everything, I don't know if you would expect somebody with your spiritual upbringing to be in that situation and to hold your own the way you did.
It was a very clean upbringing, and I was, I played in church, and so all these, it was just, and raised in a Mormon town where you just didn't even think of drinking. There were 2 or 3 bad boys, but everybody was cool. They were happy with just normal things.
Now you better do some thinking, and you'll find you got the only daddy that walked the line.
I met Waylon and immediately knew his intelligence, but that other part that I had never seen was a little scary, but there was something so good about him that I recognized that, and I just kind of followed the path because really what he was doing was right in the sense, I don't mean, the lifestyle, but what he was doing was right, and it was so right. And pursuing his music and the passion he had for it, and the love he had for it in songs, all that made it easier. I mean, it was like Waylon was working all the time. So, yes, he was doing first some diet pills, and then he got into some other things.
Right.
Nothing like what they call today hard drugs, but it still was stuff. I think he just wanted to stay up. But, those years just flowed, and because I'd seen what they did in rock music, I knew what they were doing here wasn't right, and I knew it wasn't fair, and not to somebody like Waylon, who was a genius.
Yeah.
And so, perhaps if it had just been some guy who doing drugs and getting high, and I wouldn't have been there.
But you
this
knew
is a man who had something to offer the world.
Right.
And he just had a heart that's bigger than Texas.
You're looking for someone who's got it all to give. You're looking for someone who won't care how you live. You're looking for someone who won't need love from you. I ain't the one. I ain't the one.
Well, you're looking for someone to dry your tears when you cry.
It was just the path that I was to take, and when I returned to my faith, it wasn't something that Waylon understood. It appeared to him that I had changed, and I did not ever take leadership because he was spiritual and he believed.
Right.
But I don't know how much he understood until the very last, a relationship with Christ. I don't think he could quite get that he could be. I think he was such a working man that he would have to work for something. He couldn't receive that gift.
Grace. He couldn't accept the grace.
It was hard for him. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, but I didn't ever take spiritual leadership.
Probably you knew that he'd have to find it on his own.
Yes, I did. I just was guided, probably. It was just the path I was supposed to take.
Well, you're just, you're just a spiritual person. I think, just talking to you, it doesn't necessarily have to be preaching the Bible. You just in your wisdom, that's
just
from somewhere else. Just live it, exactly.
Live it. Be sweet. That's
right. And you probably, I know you made an influence on Waylon and his life and keeping him centered. Probably not even by saying anything, but just like by being there for him and offering wisdom, which I'm sure you did many times when he was going through hard times like everybody does in the business, you know?
He called me his leaning post. He told somebody, you know, and I'm thinking, well, what does that mean? You know how girls are. You think, well, what does he mean by that?
Right.
But he was for me too, just you know, major place to. He was my rock, you know.
How is it different now than it was back then when you were starting out, when you first got married and writing songs and trying to get your career started? How is it different, and how do you think it's changed the music business and music?
Fortunate things that happened to me, very good things. The first 5 songs I wrote, Chet Atkins took them and got some hits with them. And I don't know, it was such a natural process. And then when success did come and you had, you know, your name was being echoed and you were up on the charts and in the limelight more and things, you know, I realized immediately that you need to keep your roots very solid during those times. Mm-hmm. I have no way to equate with people who pick up a guitar and then suddenly they're there. I can't even begin to imagine what it is they feel or how they can realistically cope with it and handle it unless they've just got great people around them and a great upbringing. I don't know how else you do it because it is a swim. You get out there and you're swimming in this unknown place. And I know even as Waylon approached such great success and album after album after album, you know, I thought, oh gosh, you know, I've dealt with all the hard times we've had when there's no money and we really weren't getting paid and everybody was shafting us. And all that. You know, can I deal with this, you know, with what's happening after that?
I think, you know, coming from like the songwriting standpoint, which both you and Waylon are writers, having to rough it and play these tiny clubs and, you know, like you were saying, people shafting you or just different experiences that you have to go through when you're hustling and trying to make a career, that's when you get some really good writing material. And I think there's like a realness that is reflected in that music versus now when you have these people who are overnight successes and they get thrown these songs from these songwriters, you know, this is going to be your new single, this is going to be this, and it all just seems kind of fake because they didn't experience that.
That's right.
They don't know what they're talking about, you know?
Right.
And I think that's why people just, they really miss that era of music, you know, that you guys come from.
Right. Right, because, you know.
There were the stories.
Right, and it's like the man and the music or the woman and the music. It's like their life. They're, you know, and Waylon was the man with the music.
I know.
You know, and people would go looking, and I felt, and all the young artists call me, and I love going out and seeing them, being with them, and but it's like, I think, you know, that's all they have today. They'll never know what it was like to be, you know, to be in Waylon's, kind of, I call it a vortex, a creative, you know,
right.
Just a magnetic thing that he had. They'll never know that.
This time, if I should feel unwanted, I won't stay. Each tomorrow will depend on the love you give today. It's all up to you, girl, keep in mind. This time's gonna be the last time. If this time should be anything like the other time.
Waylon seemed to really, he was one of those guys that made impacts on people's lives. He left his imprint.
Yes.
For
yes,
sure.
He was definite. He knew how to make a decision and he knew how to stand by it and make it good. You know, he was just real creative. Everything he did, you never knew quite what
he made his own logo.
It was
right?
like, yeah, it was like he was just really creative in the course of a day. He was not stuck. He was amazing.
Storms never